Hi there, Steve Kaufman. You'll notice that my surroundings have changed. I have moved back up to the attic here. No longer sharing an office with my wife. So I'm up here and I will continue doing my videos from here. A few items. I'll be in China from the 24th of October, partly on my wood business, and also I will be meeting with the company that published my book in China about 6 or 7, whenever it was, years ago. And we'll be discussing the possibility of a new edition to be published in China. Now, today I want to talk about listening, because I think listening is so important, and because I think we can improve our ability to listen. We can become better listeners and therefore better learners. Now, I know that I often say, we should only use those methods of language learning that we like doing, and some people don't like to listen. Some people like to watch video, and I admit that I won't do certain things that I don't like doing exercises and answering questions, even though they may be good for me. So what I'm going to say may fall on deaf ears with some people. However, I would like to repeat that I would recommend to people, if they ask me, what should I do? Okay, you're going to do what you want to do and what you enjoy doing, but if you ask me for my advice, spend a lot of time simply listening and reading. I know I've said this before, but I want to stress it again. It's so easy to do. Speaking, of course, is very important, and the more you progress in the language, the more you will want to speak. And at some point, to make a real breakthrough, you have to speak, and you have to speak a lot. But for a long period of time, you can make significant progress in the language just by listening and reading. It's easy to do, and it's relatively inexpensive to do. But we do have to develop the ability, the skill to focus while doing it. Some people can't read, but the more we read, the better we get at reading. My wife didn't like to read. She'd fall asleep when she started reading. But she stuck with it, and she started reading more and more, and then she found books that interested her. It happened to be books about history, historical novels, and now she enjoys reading. She didn't like playing the piano when she had a piano teacher, but now she's playing piano on her own and she plays more and more. My granddaughter had the same experience. So the more you do something, you can develop, not only do you get better at it, but you can start to like it more. The expression that I often quote in French, l'appétit vient en mangeant. The appetite comes as we eat. So, getting back to listening, some people say they have trouble concentrating while listening. I have said that I am able to concentrate better if I am listening while doing something else, the dishes, going for a walk. And I have had people on my YouTube channel concur that it's difficult to sit in a chair, put some language content on, and just sit and listen. It seems to be easier for some people to concentrate when we're doing something else. It is also very practical in that we can be doing two things at the same time. We can take advantage of what would otherwise be dead time. One of my big criticisms of Rosetta Stone is that you're forced to sit there in front of the computer. Now, something happened to me which I want to share with you. I was listening to this French chansonnier, Georges Brassens, who I enjoyed when I lived in France, and it suddenly dawned on me that here I am listening to his songs, and I am totally focused on every word. And I remember that when I lived in France, when I was bathed in French, I was a student there for 3 years. I went to school in French, spoke French every day, did everything in French, and I haven't really had that much French since then. Occasionally, once a year, I run into French-speaking people, visitors, or we have been in France on a few occasions and so forth. But when I was most immersed in French, I would listen to these French chansonniers, singers, and I wouldn't understand the words because it's sometimes difficult to pick up the words. And I found that I understood every word. And I attribute this to my commitment to language learning through listening over the last really 10 years. It's 10 years ago that I started working on my Cantonese using a Minidisc player. And it's then that I discovered the power of these very small and yet very, high quality recording devices. Of course, the Minidisc player progressed into the MP3 player, the iPod, and Android, and all of the things that we have today. So I've spent a lot of time listening to Cantonese, Korean, Portuguese, Russian, and now Czech. And I have trained my ability to listen and to focus while listening. When I listen to Czech now, I hear every word. It's not a blur. I don't know all the words, but I hear every word very, very clearly. So what I'm saying there is, some of you may not like listening. Some of you say that you tune out. Some of you say that you prefer to watch movies. All of that is undoubtedly true. I would just recommend that you make the effort to try to get better at listening and focusing while you're listening. It's an acquired skill, and the more you do it, the better you get at doing it. And if you have that ability, it becomes a tremendous learning tool. In my view, and I've mentioned this before, they should teach that as a learning skill at schools. I even suggested, partly tongue-in-cheek, that they have kids run around the schoolyard listening to their lessons on an MP3 player. I see sometimes the efforts of schools or universities to have online courses, and they all want to have like an online classroom. Like the teacher is there and somehow broadcasting it out to many, many people, and they can get on and ask questions, and it's all very interactive and so forth. And there certainly is a place for that kind of interactive learning process. But I believe a big part of learning you've got to do on your own, whether you're reading or listening. And reading, and of course we also have to develop the ability to read and focus on what we're reading, because reading is such a powerful way of learning, not only learning languages, but learning in general. But listening is another skill, and we should train kids to get good at listen to 5 different versions of the something to do with, say, ancient Egypt. Okay, one 10-minute story, another little lecture, another whatever, and you listen and listen, and you hear about the same things through different avenues, different perspectives, and you're listening, and if you get good at it, then you can listen while you're walking to school, walking back from school. It's probably too ambitious in terms of school kids, but if we can train that, that is a tremendously valuable skill. We can learn while in the car, and we don't fade out. We stay focused. So all I'm saying here is listening, the ability to listen, and of course to listen, just as in learning languages, you need words, you need vocabulary. And so in order to increase one's vocabulary, of course the combination of listening and reading, or if you want to take it one step further, the kind of interface and support that we have at Link, and no doubt elsewhere, can make sure that the vocabulary grows, because to understand what's being said, you have to know the words. It's also possible to listen and listen and listen and eventually guess and figure out some of the missing words, but it goes faster if we combine it with reading. So there you have it. I just wanted to sort of get back to this thing about listening. Yeah, everybody learns in different ways. Some people like watching videos, but if you really want my advice, I'm quite convinced that for everybody, if they can train themselves, they will learn better and they will learn more efficiently if they can train themselves to be good readers, but beyond that, good listeners. And if they are good listeners, they will become good readers. So listening is key in terms of language learning, literacy, learning in general. We have the most wonderful tools now for listening. We have the most amazing resources available on the internet, all kinds of interesting courses and audio material that you can download. Learn to be a good listener. And that's what I wanted to say today. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.